Beyond Bedtime.
Welcome to Beyond Bedtime. I am your host, Stooge Carmichael. Today is Pet Day at the studio, but of course I don't have a pet because I was tricked into coming to Neptune to record this podcast. So Flem brought his pet demon. Say hello.
Hi, my name's Scramulex.
Scramulex?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're a demon.
Why?
Where did you learn English?
Facebook and other social media.
Well, that's great and a bit weird. So do you want to sit in for this episode?
It would be my pleasure.
Okay, sounds great, everybody. Let's listen now to episode 5 of Nathan and Walter versus the Costume People. Enjoy. Nathan and Walter versus the Costume People. Episode 5. An Energeic Way Forward. On Nebo, the scion of the Chancellor of Glorbis had been summoned to leave his home at the Hall of Cretan. He had been called upon by Keith Overlord, the supreme leader of Nebo. The scion rolled along the highway, running behind the outskirts of town, which led to a valley between the hills of Mount Cabinet. Hidden beside a plain-looking bush was a mysterious entrance to a cave that very few Nebosians knew about. As the scion approached, he felt as if he heard voices echoing around him, and he was nervous. The entrance was very dark. He took a deep breath and entered. There, he sees him, Keith Overlord, who is squatting a tremendous amount of weight. He racks the weight and turns to Scion.
"Sorry," he said. "It's leg day."
The Overlord looked like a giant, colorful slug, though he has muscles on top of muscles. While the rest of Nebosians spend year after year sklarthing, Keith Overlord lifts weights, and he never skips leg day.
"What is the status of the lost orb?"
We are making progress.
"Progress? You mean the young Cocoplex has not yet retrieved the orb?"
Not yet.
"You insolent fool! How widespread is the destruction from the orb?"
Well, the costumes have already taken over most of the United States. They are quite entrepreneurial. They are building a business headquarters and are planning global expansion. Possibly galaxy expansion.
"Just as I feared. What are the boy's chances?"
Well, he has gone to see Toaster Strudel beneath the Earth's surface.
"The Waffleman. I know Wapado. He will never help us. And he will certainly never give us access to his orb of red stuff. Why do you think they escaped here in the first place? They didn't exactly leave on good terms."
I could think of no other options.
"And you would be right,"
said Keith Overlord. He closed his eyes, picked up a dumbbell that was as big as a car, and pumped out a set of curls. He threw the weight down.
"So much for Earth. Make plans to evacuate the galaxy."
Already? But the boy still has a chance.
"There is no chance. With so many orbs to protect, we always knew this would be a risk. We must escape before the costumes become a threat to Nebo. Begin making arrangements."
Yes, Keith.
"You must refer to me as Overlord."
Sorry, yes, Overlord.
On the Earth's surface, Chester and Walter stood in hard hats at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for their newly built world headquarters in the heart of New York City.
"Costume people,"
Chester said.
"Today, not only have we established a costume foothold all over the North American continent, but we have also completed construction of our state-of-the-art world headquarters."
Costumes cheered.
"And now, my second-in-command, Walter Carver, will do the honor of cutting the ribbon."
Walter looked surprised. So much had been happening so quickly, and Walter was only 7. And as Chester had been giving his speech, Walter was daydreaming about his friends his dog, his brother Nathan.
Walter!
Said Chester.
Stop daydreaming or I'll demote you back to shift supervisor.
Sorry.
Walter said.
Now cut the ribbon!
Walter cut the ribbon, and all the costumes cheered. The 250-floor costume headquarters was now officially complete. Using the power of blue stuff, it was not only the tallest building in New York City, but the tallest in the United States, the tallest building in the world. Walter, Whippy, and Chester took the express elevator to the 250th floor. This is where Chester had a spacious office, and just across the hall was the room where he stored the orb of blue stuff. Chester looked down at New York City and the country beyond from his office high in the sky.
So beautiful, isn't it, Walter?
Yes, you're right. It is.
And it's all mine. Whatever isn't mine soon will be.
Chester left his office, walked across the hall to the room where the orb of blue stuff was held, and stroked the orb like he was petting a cat.
All thanks to this.
Walter looked down at the city below him. He saw buildings all the way to the horizon, as far as the eyes could see. He saw the Hudson River and a few boats slowly listing in the distance. The river was made orange and purple by the setting sun.
Do we have to take over everything?
Walter said.
What did you say?
Chester said.
I just mean, it's nice to control everything. But do we have to control everything? I'm not sure everyone likes what we're doing.
Having doubts, Walter? I thought you didn't like having people tell you what to do. This orb of blue stuff has made us all powerful.
No, it's just that...
Of course not everyone likes what we are doing. They are being conquered. We, costumes, have more power, more cunning, and more wackiness than Earthlings can handle. And we are the superior being. It will be our way of life from now on. Now, if you want to go back and join the humans...
No. I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking.
Good! Now, let's go to my rooftop helicopter. We're going to pour some blue stuff down on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It's gonna be great.
Walter followed Chester to the roof, where the helicopter was waiting. Whippy followed along. Walter's hair whipped back and forth from the wind created by the helicopter blades. The wind also created some tears that traced along the sides of his face. He missed Nathan. Nathan, right at that moment, was eating a bowl of slop that had been fed to him in the prison cell underneath the earth in Waffleworld. Clark was eating as well. Do you Earthlings really like this slop?
No, we don't eat stuff like this. This is disgusting.
They had been fed the same thing for the past 2 months. Coming down to Waffleworld had been a mistake, thought Clark. Hi, listeners. Let me discuss the history of Nebotians and the Waffleworldians. The Nebotians came first, trillions of years ago, before space-time. Although, nothing can be before space-time, but let's not get into that again. A being above even them created the Nebotians. The Nebotians were not created to be boring, but rather created to be able to pass long periods of time doing the same thing. Like, for example, sklarfing. Why? I still have no idea on that front, but perhaps the reasons the Nebotians appeared so outwardly boring is for the primary reason they came into existence. They were put in charge of protecting something called blue stuff. There was a lot of blue stuff, swimming pools full of it. So the superior being separated it into 1 million different orbs. Then she created 1 million Nebotians, giving each one of them an orb, and said,
Your sole purpose is to protect this orb. Never let it leave your sight. Never let it go. For all eternity.
This was said when there wasn't space-time. But there would be space-time, I won't say soon, because that would denote time. But space-time would be, and space-time would take a long time to pass. Trillions times trillions of years. The Supreme Being created a leader of the Nebotians, Keith Overlord, and told him that the blue stuff was so dangerous, if it got on anything, it would begin ruination on an interstellar basis. If for whatever reason they lost an orb, they needed to either get it back or get out of there. After 79 trillion years, the Nebotians were so successful in protecting their orbs that the Supreme Being once again appeared. She now held an orb of red stuff.
Here, hold on to this for a while. Try it with food.
So they did try it with food, like it was ketchup, but it didn't make food taste better. It made food come to life. It made the food walk and talk. It made the food interesting. It made the food curious. It made the food adventurous. These were things that Nebotians were not, and they didn't get along very well with the sentient food. The Nebotians were unhappy, and they sent a message to the Supreme Being.
Hey,
It said,
we don't like the red stuff, or this talking food. Love, the Nebotians.
So, the Supreme Being ordered the Waffle people away. She chose the young Toaster Jacques Strudel, who was the most calm and level-headed of the Waffle people, to be in charge of their single orb of red stuff, which they had come to call Glub.
Toaster Strudel, you are in charge of this orb of red stuff. Keep it with you at all times. If the blue stuff ever gets into the wrong hands, you will need the red stuff to get it back. Does everyone agree?
The Nebotians and the Waffle people agreed, at least on paper. So Toaster Strudel and the rest of the Waffle people left Nebo and went down to Earth, where they dove through the ocean and burrowed beneath the crust, so they wouldn't be bothered by Earthlings, who they found even more annoying than Nebotians. And a final note on all this from the Supreme Being, and that is,
Never, ever mix the red stuff and the blue stuff together.
as you faithful listeners now know, Toaster Jacques Strudel is no longer the keeper of the Orb of Red Stuff, aka Glub. It is now controlled by Waffleworld, and Waffleworld has no interest in honoring the agreement his people made long ago. In fact, Waffleworld is keeping Nathan and Clark locked in their cells until after the Nebotians vacate the galaxy, which he expects them to do shortly. He isn't wrong in this assumption. But there is something Waffleworld doesn't know. Waffleworld doesn't know that at this very moment, Nathan's dog Loki was sniffing around the nightclub. She's looking for food, and to her, the glub looks like the tastiest stuff in the place. Loki knocked over the glub, which made quite a sound, and Waffleworld and his henchmen heard her right away. But before they could grab her, Loki bathed in the warm drop of glub and sprinted away, disappearing into the cavernous Waffleworld nightlife. Loki escaped, running to an underground coastline on the edges of Waffleworld, at a vast ocean of chocolate milk. For the first time in her life, Loki is feeling thoughts different than, I am hungry, or I want to sleep, or why is that dog on our lawn? Now she thinks,
How? How does this happen? How, in stories, do things move forward in such an energetic way?
She stared at the ocean and saw red popsicles jumping through the waves like dolphins. There was a box of cereal waveboarding, and Loki noticed beautiful bongo music playing.
Such beauty. The world is so beautiful.
Now that Loki has digested her interpretation of the meaning of life, she turned to more pressing matters.
Well, my boy Nathan needs me. I think I can do more than sniff around for food. I shall help him.
And she would. But Loki had no idea how to help him. She gained awareness, but she still didn't know how to unlock a cell door. She really had no idea what to do at all. So, she decided to do what dogs did. she went to find a friend to see if he could help. She tracked down the scent of Toaster Jacques Strudel. It took her to an apartment building downtown. The building smelled like graham cracker. It also looked like graham cracker. Loki sniffed and took a small bite out of the side of the building. It was graham cracker. She followed the scent through the lobby and onto the elevator. As the elevator went up, the scent became strongest on the 7th floor, and she stopped to get off. She tracked the scent all the way down to an apartment at the end of the hall. She barked and scraped at the door. The door was made out of rice cake, which Loki most certainly did not take a bite from, because dogs do not eat rice cakes. Not in real life, and not in fiction. Not even science fiction. Toaster heard someone at the door and said, "Hold on a minute, I'm coming." He had been playing the wildly popular new online game, Pork Bite. He put down his controller and went to the door and opened it.
Hello, Toaster,
said Loki.
Ah! What? You never seen a talking dog before?
A talking dog? I've never seen a dog down here. The entire city is made out of food. We can't have dogs living down here. The city would be eaten in a matter of days.
Oh,
Loki said.
I hadn't thought of that.
Well, what are you doing here?
You need to help me.
Why would I need to help you?
They have my boy locked up down here.
Your boy?
Nathan, the boy that came down here with Clark. I snuck down here with them. You were supposed to help them.
I was supposed to do no such thing. I told them right up front I no longer had the glove. Wappado took it from me almost as soon as the waffle people arrived here. I am powerless. I told them that.
You weren't powerless,
Loki said.
You can at least help me break them out of their cells in Lil Sweetie's nightclub. You work there. You must know where their key is or something.
Toaster thought about it for a moment. Well, he said. Still, no. So, Loki had to go save her boy Nathan and Clark herself, which she set out to do that very evening. She emptied a giant bucket of soda and wore it as a disguise. But there were a few problems with her plan. First, Clark and Nathan were heavily guarded by patrolling Slim Jims and chocolate-covered strawberries. Second, Clark and Nathan's cage was locked with a key that Loki did not have. Third, even if she could break them out, it's not like they had accomplished anything down there. They didn't have any help. They didn't have the orb of red stuff. Still, she pressed on.
I'll just wing it,
she said to herself. An energetic way forward. She snuck towards the cells where Clark and Nathan were being held. Toaster was just starting his shift and noticed the soda bucket inconspicuously making its way towards the cells. He assumed this was Loki. He thought for a moment, but only shook his head and got back to sweeping. He was down on his waffle knee, picking up a gum wrapper on the ground, when he heard behind him, "Hey, Toaster, bruh, I think you missed a spot." And right as he turned, Squiggle upended another bucket of soda onto his head.
Clean up in aisle 5.
Nice one, bruh. Hilarious. Now get back to work, Toaster, Squiggle said as he and his goons went back to the bar. Toaster dropped his broom. Soda dripped down from his head across the nooks and crannies of his frozen waffle face. He looked across the room at Squiggles, laughing.
That was so hilarious.
Then at Wappado, who was fast asleep, sitting in front of the glove he had stolen or appropriated from Toaster when they first came to Waffleworld. Then he looked over at the bucket of soda with little doggy legs sticking out of the bottom, seemingly wandering around aimlessly. Enough is enough. he walked over to the moving bucket of soda. Loki.
I'm not Loki. I'm a bucket of soda.
Loki, I can see your feet sticking out the bottom. Plus, you smell like a dog. Listen, I decided I'm going to help you.
You will? What made you change your mind?
I guess something in me just popped. Soda popped. Get it?
No.
So much for humor. Listen, here is a key to the cell.
Wait, you had a key with you this whole time?
No, I took it off Waffleworld on my way into work today. He was asleep, and I thought, well, just in case. And now is in case.
Great.
But there are guards. 2 Slim Jims and 2 chocolate-covered strawberries. Listen, here's what we're gonna do. A few minutes later, Toaster walked up to the 4 guards while holding 2 giant 256-ounce buckets of soda. Hello, gentlemen. I have 2 small sodas that you guys ordered.
We didn't order any sodas,
said a chocolate-covered strawberry.
Actually,
Said a Slim Jim.
I'm quite parched.
Well, here you go, said Toaster. But as he handed one of the sodas over, he sort of, accidentally spilled it all over one of the Slim Jims and all over the floor. Oh my goodness, I am such a klutz,
Darn it, Toaster.
said Slim Tim the Slim Jim. Let me just clean that up.
It's all over me.
While the guards were distracted, Toaster put the other soda on the ground and went to grab his towel and mop. The other soda, of course, was our friend Loki hiding in the cup. She snuck over to the cell door.
Hey, Nathan, it's me.
Hi, who are you? I don't know any talking sodas.
No, I'm not a soda.
Loki took off her soda bucket.
It's me, Loki.
You can talk? But how?
That glove is powerful stuff.
Don't ask about the glove again, Nathan, Toaster said. I can't listen to that song again. Loki used the keycard that Toaster had given her and unlocked the cell door.
Voila!
Great!
Nathan said.
Okay, let's get out of here.
But hold on, we still need that orb. They looked over to the glowing orb of red stuff, sitting in its chamber directly behind Waffleworld. But let's be honest, listeners, this escape plan was never too thought out. And it was only a moment later when the chocolate-covered strawberry guards noticed that the cell door was open and Nathan and Clark were gone. An alarm went off. Behind a dumpster just outside Lil Sweetie's roadhouse, Toaster said to them, "You better get out of here now."
Come with us. You can help us after all, even without the glove.
"No," Toaster said. "I'm not much use for anything. I would just get in the way. I'll see if I can slow down the guards, but that's all I can do."
But
"Just go. You don't have much time." And just as the guards came around the corner, Nathan, Clark, and Loki snuck through an underground tunnel that led to the outskirts of the city. "Keep your heads down," Clark said. "We need to get back to the ladder we came in on." Despite Waffleworld guards looking everywhere for them, Nathan, Clark, and Loki were able to arrive at the long ladder they had arrived at. As they climbed, they could hear an alarm in the distance, and all the glubbers searching. They heard Wapado's booming voices.
My prisoners! That devotion and that earthquake and that raging mutt! Find them! Find them!
But the 3 were already up the ladder, through the secret hatch and back into the submersible. They started upwards towards the ocean's surface.
So much for all that. What's the point?
I had to speak to my contact Toaster, Clark said. I didn't know he no longer had the orb and that he couldn't help us. But it was worth it. But for now, our last and only chance is to get a hold of the orb of blue stuff.
How are we gonna do that? They're keeping it in the new costume headquarters. It's the largest building in the world.
Well, I guess we're just gonna have to sneak in.
How are we gonna sneak in? They know exactly what we look like. I'm sure they will be on the lookout.
How would one sneak into a building that is crawling with costumes? Loki gave Clark a curious look. Just then, the submersible burst through the ocean surface and rocked against the dock. Even from so far away, they could see the looming costume headquarter tower standing in the distance. That's where we are going, Clark said, pointing up. First, we need to get some costumes. Fine, I'll let him do the outro. Go ahead, Scramulex.
This is Scramulex, saying thanks for listening to my Beyond Bedtime. See you next week, bye.
Okay, that was terrible. You better not bring him back next week.